Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Welcome in, Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. You guys get to watch us. If you haven't in the past, welcome in. Good to be with you. Remember, headliners, subscribe to Warchant TV today. Hit the thumbs up below this video so we can pop up on the feeds for all those that don't know about this incredible program.
When there's not many of those people out left, are there?
I know. So get in here, boys and girls, and enjoy the show. I got to tell you that, all right, this is the first one we've done in this studio together. We're still working out the bugs. So if you're watching right now on Warchant TV, I think we're going to set up the camera angles different in due time.
I don't know. I like this.
Corey
like
likes
just kind of
this.
look at me. Look at me, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Your back. I got my back to you. I don't have to look at you anymore.
So also, if you're new to this on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, that would be Ira and Corey with Warchant. I, too, am with Warchant. We have done this show for, what is it now, guys?
11 years, buddy.
11 years. Almost to the day we started.
11 years. And not only are we dear friends, but the show kind of works because of that. Oh, you want to hold hands today?
No. I'll
guide you through. But we're also guys that like to have fun. And it makes it possible now that we're on Warchant TV to take questions there on the YouTube feed. So we'll do some of that as well. You old school folks are like, wait a minute, what's going to happen with the Facebook and the Twitter? I've got them right here.
Don't worry.
Came prepared. We've got them. Ira, your beloved Twitter questions will get asked.
They didn't come real strong this week. I think they were just shocked by the graphic that Tom Lane came up with the headlines graphic, which was really cool. First time we've had a graphic in 11 years. Mm-hmm. First time today we had our first production meeting.
Crazy.
So the Twitter users were a little bit thrown off guard. So we're going to be heavy on Facebook and heavy on the chat, but Twitter will come back next week.
By the way, you should note that not only that with the graphic, but there are inside jokes for the old school folks on there, including a running commentary from a man named Jerry, who no doubt is African-American. Yes. If you've listened to this show for a very long time.
Of course.
We celebrate that. If you're new to the show, you're like, why would he identify Jerry that way? So don't worry. Hang in there. It's you don't have to be nervous. All right. So, hey, welcome in. It's good to be with you guys. I got to christen the studio yesterday here. I like this setup. It's good that we're going to be able to interact this way, closer than ever before. I know it makes you nervous.
It's pretty close.
We're going to be all right. We cannot curse. If you're listening to this program and one of us does, you're going to have to ignore that.
Please don't
Do
call
not
the FCC.
report us to the FCC.
You don't need to. What are you going to be, a narc?
It's not going to happen, man. We're pros here. I do like Corey and I kind of being across from each other because we used to be side by side,
next to each
which
other.
didn't really make sense because usually we don't agree on anything.
That is true.
So this works out pretty good.
So it's like point counterpoint.
Maybe we'll just come up with some stuff to debate.
A little bit later in the show here, early on, we do have an announcement to make. Maybe some of you have already seen it on warchant.com, but we'll be welcoming in Devontay Love Taylor later in the show. We're actually going to bring a player on. I'll tell you why in just a bit. But we should get to the talk of the day, and we did a lot of this over the weekend, obviously. And all three of us were out there at practice. We did a stand-up from over there on Sunday, and then I did the show yesterday. I know you guys have written articles about it as well on warchant.com. But we
had the roundtable.
That's right.
Sunday night.
Sunday night we did. We have the roundtable Sunday night. You can find all that on Warchant TV as well. But we should, as a group here, as Seminole Headlines, we should acknowledge, obviously, the passing of Bobby Bowden, and the announcements have been made. So anybody that wants, it's going to be packed. I can't imagine that's going to be easy to get into this weekend.
Also, the viewing, him lying in repose at the Moore Athletic Center on Friday. I mean, I can't even imagine you'd have to park in like Quincy.
I was thinking the same thing.
I mean,
yeah.
That's going to be a lot of traffic. I've never heard the term repose.
Apparently, I looked it up. According to my quick Google search, it's you lie in state if you're like in a Capitol building or a government building.
Okay.
But if it's like at a place of work or something like that, it's lying in repose.
Okay.
But I did not know that before about 72 hours.
Okay, good. I felt really dumb when they're talking about lying in repose, and I'm like, what does that mean?
With the willingness to both of you to admit openly,
yeah.
you had no idea what that was.
I'm confident. I'm secure in my intellect.
Yeah.
I was watching last night. I've talked about it a few times, but that Finding a Way documentary from 1985. I mean, he's like 55, so it's not like he's 20. But what's funny is at the very end, after they've gone 9-3, I think they beat Oklahoma State in the Gator Bowl. He's talking about, I think Florida State could really take off here, and I hope I'm here to see it. I'm getting old. I don't know how much longer I'm going to coach. Literally, he said that in 1985. He's like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to coach, but it's really cool. He didn't say really cool, but that's the sentiment. it's really cool that I got to be here on the ground floor. And I know Florida State's going to do big things, whether I'm here or not. And then 2 years later, the dynasty started. I mean, that's crazy. You're just looking at such a great archival document that people can go watch.
You know, I think it's really cool too. And we did talk about this some and kind of vetting his career and the successes, obviously, on and off the field. But one of the things we did talk about, and I heard this nationally too, it seemed to be a sentiment universally believed to be true, which is that you're just never going to see another Bobby Bowden, not just because of the uniqueness of the man, but the game has changed and the money in the game has changed and the way that the teams and the coaches and players are covered have changed dramatically. So the openness and the way that you could be honest with reporters and have dialogue and conversations and not be guarded and allow people to get to know you, that has all changed. And I spent a lot of time yesterday talking about how I was sad, not only obviously to see the man pass, but 91 years is a great run. And he had a great life, and that's to be celebrated. But I think I was sad because it was one more significant end to a bygone era where characters of college football separated the sport from professional football, and most of them were on the sidelines, and they're all gone. There really isn't that many unique people, maybe because they're not allowed to be themselves anymore, that coach college football.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to see the responses nationally versus locally. You know, nationally, it's all about what they did as a program, his folksiness, his comedy, his personality, and obviously the championships and all the great players he coached and all that. But locally, it's almost been exclusively the one-on-one relationships and meetings people had with Bobby Bowden. You know, whether it was running into him at the golf course or at a laundromat, or well, he probably didn't went to. When's the last time Bobby went?
He might have gone to a laundromat.
You think?
Morgantown, like it was 80 years ago out of Birmingham.
If the washer broke, he might have had him running down to the laundromat.
People are still going to the laundromat in Morgantown.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
don't sell washers and dryers.
The coin laundry. Yeah, but you know, just the experiences people had with him. Austin just wrote something on our site today, and who works with us at Warchant about, you know, he was leading a group of golfers at a golf camp. This is like 7 years ago, and they ran into Coach Bowden on the golf course. It was the middle of summer, so it was probably 1,000 degrees. No normal, person would be out there, but Coach Bowden's out there by himself just chipping. And so they go up there and they talk to him, and he talks to Austin and all these kids from the camp for like an hour in the middle of August. But I mean, those are the things locally that people talk about.
I saw Coach Bowden.
And real quick, how many times do you think that's happened? Like the course was like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's still doing that at 84, 85.
He was a member at Kalaran Country Club. I'm a member there and have been for a number of years now, because we live right by there. And I would see him as recently as a year ago on the putting green. He would just be out there putting. People would come up to him all the time. You know, he wasn't playing anymore, really. He could only go putt, but he liked that solitude. He liked that time. And I would watch him just putting in the work, putting, walk by, hey, coach, hey, Jeff, or hey, buddy, and he would say that to most people kind of gave him his space, understood he was there for the solitude, but it was good to see. He was always out there. It's amazing.
You were talking about the personalities. Like, I think what I feel like in the last decade, we've kind of gravitated more towards Spurrier, like liking him.
After he went to South Carolina.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, funny quips and all that.
Sure.
He started making fun of Dabo.
And he makes fun of everyone. And he's just an old cantankerous man, but it's funny. It's humorous to us because he's not afraid to say anything that's on his mind. The difference is he's kind of a brat. You know, he's a personality. It's cool to have those in the game, but he's a brat. Bobby Bowden was a nice person. And I think that's the difference. And that's why, all these older coaches that will pass away, it's sad, but none of them are beloved or revered because they weren't the person that Bobby Bowden was.
Could you imagine, you made this point on Wake Up Warchant the other day, we're just going to promote all of our different ventures. That, when Spurrier made the free shoes, comments, that Bowden didn't really go back after him. Imagine if he had wanted to, like as clever as he is and as witty as he is, later in his career, a couple times, he didn't take shots at coaches or schools. But a couple times, like, he let reporters know, hey, man, like, relax with that. Like, I remember when Georgia Tech, there was somebody asking him about the academics of Georgia Tech. And this is mid-2000 when O'Leary was there and they were having some success. And he goes, well, they still have that building construction management, don't they? A major, don't they? Like, there's a major there that you're right. They're not all engineers.
Yeah.
But he kind of like slid that in there but if he wanted to be like Spurrier, could you imagine? He could have just knifed up people.
The only time that he did respond in that way to Spurrier was when he thought he crossed the line a couple of times, and he basically called him a crybaby. And that was the end of it. And Spurrier acknowledged that recently, just as recently as yesterday, in talking about Coach Bowden. It was funny. He had a hard time, Spurrier did. He did say some nice things, but he also had some quips in there.
Spurrier.
I'm like, Steve, man, now's not the time, brother. Yeah. Dude just died. Yeah. Now's not the time.
He can't get past it.
He can't. Well, and it's because he admitted they beat us more than we beat them, and that's.
And he never won. Ron Zook.
He never won
a game at Doak, and Steve Spurrier never did.
Under different circumstances, admittedly, and that was part of the legacy too, as the downward slide there at the end, and we had to kind of dance around that and talk a little bit about that yesterday as well. But I'm really glad that obviously what. The man got his just due yesterday. Nationally, I heard every single show I tuned into, national or regional. It was really amazing. I mean, Dan Lebitard's down in Miami, obviously, as a Cane, talked for 14 minutes about Bobby Bowden and the uniqueness of Bobby Bowden and how special he was, and actually dared anybody to try to find another coach, whether you like that team or not, that was appreciated as much as Bobby Bowden was for the man that he was.
Probably Lane Kiffin is the only one. He's the modern day Bowden, right? Would you say Kiffin or Mike Leach? I mean, those are the two closest facsimiles.
You know who you would have to go to? You have to go to the professional ranks. You'd have to go all the way back, I think, to Tom Landry.
But even then, he wasn't funny.
No, but he was a
gentleman.
But he was beloved.
Yeah, and he was beloved.
Nobody had anything bad to say about Tom.
Yeah, the thing about Bowden that's so just complex, and there's just so many layers to it, is you do have the humor, you do have the success. You do have the personality in terms of making the genuineness, making people feel good. But then you also have the intensity that we didn't always see, especially in the later years. But in that documentary Corey's talking about, you do see it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, though, man. Like, you also see some flaws. I mean, that is a chaotic sideline. I mean, you sometimes you're wondering, like, do they know who's in the game? There's no
perfect coach, and that is the point. It's good that documentary was made because you see all the greatness and all the things that allowed for him to win and connect to people. And you also see the things that come back to haunt him a few times in his career.
Clock management.
You get clock management, the kind of chaos you're talking about on the sidelines could have helped him against Miami a few times if they weren't that chaotic. We talked about that, Corey. So, there is no perfect coach. But if you see all of it.
But that's the thing. You're human. And to be as innovative as he was and creative as he was, and to call the punt Ruski and all in that situation, all those things, you have to be a little bit of a wild card. I mean, you're not going to be straight-laced and also have those ingenious plays.
Yeah, no, the riverboat gambler that he was is what we all remember, and you don't think about it when you're criticizing him because clock management was a little shaky.
Your boy's over here making love to the camera.
Well,
I'm waiting for him to start flexing, like pulling up his sleeve.
This is the only way I can talk into the mic straight like this. I think this sounds
You don't
better.
have to, by the way.
But, man, does this look good or not? I mean, look at this.
It's very bright. I'm not, and this doesn't help our radio audience, which is massive.
Okay,
and you're sitting here staring at the camera, trying to catch the best angle.
Never
of your
done
jawline.
this before, man. I've never done a live YouTube like this. So I'm in a studio.
There are a lot of people driving down the road going, I don't know about this. I don't know about this.
Putting a mirror in a room with a monkey.
We did. we did also, and there's no easy way to pivot, but we should. Because we've now been able to take in, what is this, 3-4 practices?
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess you count the luncheon and then the 3 practices.
Well, actually, kind of like 6 because they're going 2 a day.
Yeah, that's true. And so we're going to need to talk about that and get into that. And I think we should do that. We're also, as I said, going to bring in Devontay Love Taylor and tell you why in a bit here. So I think that we've got some meat and potatoes, boys, which is signifying football is upon us. And I know, Corey, you get excited and then you get disappointed that we can't just watch games.
Right.
But, man, with practice being as open as it is, This has to feel better than it has in the previous years because we're able to watch all this.
Corey got some love yesterday from Norvell.
What?
He does. One thing about Norvell that's cool is if you ask a question about a player that he likes,
he'll tell you.
He appreciates that you noticed. And Corey had a couple of those yesterday.
Yeah, Kevin Noles, who's been really good.
I love that guy from day one.
Just that name, too. He's going to be in Seminoles.
Sounds
Knowles,
like, yeah.
It's perfect. And then Darian Williamson. I guess, what is he? He's
redshirt
freshman.
They're calling him redshirt freshman. They should. I can't. What did you call it the other day? You call it like a returning freshman.
I
kind of like that better,
right? Yeah. He's a returning freshman, but yeah, he's had really good practices. But they've been in the second session, not against the best DBs. They're more the reserves freshmen.
How did you? We're not interested in that.
Okay.
How were you acknowledged?
So, what I said,
hey, I don't care about teamwork. I care about us.
Yeah.
Said
locked eyes.
I said I know he's not going against the veterans. He's in this second session, But Darian Williamson seems to be in it. Before I even got the question out, he started nodding
his head,
and then said,
very excited.
He said, "Good eye." He looked at me and said, "Good eye."
He said, "You've got a good eye.
You've got a good eye. Oh, you've got a good eye." And I mean, we all know that. I don't need.
Yeah. But that affirmation probably felt a little bit.
Great. Yeah, I don't need it. I don't need it. I know I have a good eye.
Mike probably didn't think you did.
Well, so it reminded me of when Ronald Darby's first practice. Jimbo let us watch that 5 a.m. practice in the fall. Remember that? It's great.
So
you want to come out?
You were so pumped.
We're going to do it at 5. So I didn't go to sleep that night. So anyway, not because I was excited, because it was pointless. So then I got out there and I watched Darby, and I told Jimbo, I'm like, man, I think that Darby guy's pretty good. Or asked him a question. He's like, yeah, Stevie Wonder could see that. So little different personalities.
Yeah. A pat on the back as opposed to just
and Jimbo liked Corey.
Yeah. That's good. Remember headliners, I should say. Subscribe to Warchant TV today. Please hit the thumbs up below the video so we can pop up on the feeds of the many heathens who never knew or heard of this show. And to all of you listening on Real Talk 93.3 FM, hang in there as well. We'll be back momentarily.
Are you wasting your time again on free blogs and social media to get the scoop on FSU recruiting?
Yeah, it's all bait and switch. You're on Warchant.com. What's really going on with FSU recruiting?
Could be another top 5 class, but for the real scoop, you'll need to get your own Warchant subscription.
What's it cost?
Free. There's a 30-day trial offer. Just sign up and you'll get full access through signing day. And nobody has more accurate and timely information than Warchant.com.
You know I like free. Sign me up.
Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole source.
In 1945, Jack Whitten started a glass company in Tallahassee. Now, over 70 years and 3 generations later, it's still working every day, doing just as Jack wanted, giving his customers real solutions for replacing window glass, providing custom-cut mirrors, and supplying superior bath and shower enclosures. Local building contractors know Whitten Glass takes care of Tallahassee business. They prefer Whitten because of their precision and mastery of eye-catching storefront glass and countertop glass. It's a fact. When you choose Whitten Glass, you're working with real glass people who will take care of you to your complete satisfaction. It's what Jack Whitten wanted, and it's been the Whitten way of doing business for over 70 years. Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass since 1945. Call Whitten Glass today or visit them online, 850-222-5781 or whittenglass.com.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick, professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-SparkConstruction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CCC1331204.
If you're an attorney who struggles with the balance of managing your practice and practicing law, consider Lexicon as your #1 pick. From client intake to billing and all that comes in between, Lexicon doesn't miss a thing. Our comprehensive solution combines best-in-class software and services to take care of your firm's most critical challenges, automating many of the tasks that take time out of your day. It's all about giving you more of your billable hours back. And who doesn't love more revenue? No more searching for practice management that works. Lexicon marks the spot. Visit lexiconservices.com to learn what Lexicon can do for you.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
You know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. it's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
And I'm talking. There's no music. I don't know what I'm thinking.
Come on, man. Come on. You're a
pro. I
pro.
thought I got a generic bumper. It's just straight dry. Here we go. That's my fault. There was a joke there. There was a joke there.
Come on, dude.
Don't do it.
Come on, man.
The temptation was too much. I know. All right. Well, we're working out the kinks of the new studio and having all three of us here at the same time. And that's okay. We'll be all right. You know what's going to be cool? This will help us right off the bat. We've got a big announcement to make here. There's an upcoming show on Warchant TV. It's going to be called Trench Talk. And when you hear who our next guest is, you'll realize that's fitting. Trench Talk with Devontay Love Taylor, a weekly show only on Warchant TV. It is the first installment of Trench Talk, scheduled coming up August the 15th. That's Sunday, August the 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Warchant TV. The show is going to be driven by you guys, the fans. You can submit questions to Devontay via YouTube chat, Facebook, and Twitter. And we welcome Devontay Love Taylor to the program right now. Good sir, thanks for being our first guest on the Seminole Headlines here on the new show, 93.3 FM. Good to have you on board.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Guys, you want to lead the way? Ira, go ahead.
Devontay, hey, man, this is Ira. Hey, I just want to ask what it's been like these first few days in the sense of it seems like, you know, when you came into Florida State, coming from FIU, you transferred in, it was still kind of that transition period from the old coaching staff to new coaching staff and old players, new players. And it seems like now that you guys have been here, you've been here now, I guess, a year and a half. It seems like everybody's on the same page, moving in the same direction. How much fun has that been at practice and in the meetings the first few days?
It's been a really good time because now we're in year 2 of the system, and it's a lot more of just going out and playing football instead of having to stop and learn the system. And now it's just we get to compete every day, and we don't have to – it takes a lot off mentally, and you can just go out and perform physically because, like I said, we're in year 2. And we can just go out and execute.
Devontay, I wanted to ask you, I've been out at practice the last 3 days, probably not putting in as much work as you have and your teammates, but it's so hot, man. And you're doing it early in the morning, but it's still Tallahassee, August, oppressive. How much do you weigh yourself before and after? Are you guys literally losing like 7-8 pounds of practice and then just have to eat a bunch of chicken to get your weight back up? How does that work? How does the weight maintain itself?
That's a very good question. You know, our nutritionist, she does a great job. We do weigh in before and directly after practice. And our coaches are on top of us about hydrating throughout the day. You know, we get in trouble if we don't have a water bottle or a Powerade or anything like that, and we're not hydrating. And then they monitor what we eat every day. And we're eating 4 to 5 times a day because we have to put in what we lost. And then we're going back out and doing the same thing over and over. And we got to take advantage of the off days and put calories back in our body so we're ready to perform when it's time.
So could you literally drop, like I remember Sugar Ray Leonard in that Marvin Hagler fight. It's before your time.
Those were like, who the hell are you talking about?
Boxers in the 80s. But Sugar Ray said after that fight, he lost like 11 pounds in a fight or 14 pounds or something. Is it like that? Can it be that drastic where you're losing 7-8 pounds in one practice?
It can, especially when you're wearing all the equipment and everything and, you know, you're going for about 2 hours at a time. But it can get back in you fast once you hydrate and eat. But I've lost anywhere from 5 to 8 pounds in a day. I've heard people losing 10 to 11.
Man, we're real excited at warchant.com to have the Trench Talk show that you're going to be doing. And I just wanted to kind of talk to you about that for a minute. It's, this is only made possible because of the NIL legislation, the state of Florida, and then the NCAA followed up, making it possible for you guys to actually make a few dollars here and there as college athletes. This show that we're going to be doing is neat because it's not going to be me and Corey or Jeff or anybody else interviewing you. It's a chance for you to kind of sit down with the fans and take their questions. Basically, we're just bringing you in so you can talk to the fans and interact with them. Are you looking forward to that, just kind of that experience?
I am. I think it's very cool. And I really appreciate you guys for the opportunity for allowing me to do that. And I think it's just great to be able to talk to fans because, you know, not everybody has that opportunity. Not all schools are doing that. And it was very hard the past year with COVID. Like, we didn't get to have a fan day. And I was new to Tallahassee last year, so I wasn't really like aware of how strong the fan base was at Florida State. And this is a great way for me to connect with the fan base.
Devontay, what do you think along the lines, and I'm sure you're going to get questions similar to this when the fans do write in their questions, but what do you think is the greatest misperception of football fans that, they file in every Saturday, they watch their team. The offensive line is frequently blamed for everything that goes wrong on an individual play because it seems the most glaring, right? If somebody gets beat physically, everybody can see that. What do you think the greatest misperception is of offensive line play from the average fan?
Sometimes just they don't know what the scheme is or like what the system is. Like sometimes we may have a certain play where we let somebody go or they're not our guy, and if they make the tackle, then it looks like the O-lineman wasn't blocking him, but in reality, he's not our guy to begin with.
Now, how much fun has it been to where, and again, coming out of high school, you were not the highest recruited guy. You get FIU, have a lot of success there, and then once you went in the transfer portal, you got a lot of attention from big programs. And I know last year you didn't get the fan experience because of COVID, so you only played in front of 20,000 fans as opposed to 80 or 90,000. How much fun do you expect it to be if the Notre Dame game is full capacity and you've got 80,000 fans there? How much are you looking forward to that?
I'm looking really forward to it, to be honest. It's like a dream come true. I grew up in Florida and I grew up watching Florida State. And to be honest, when I was coming out of high school, when I committed to FIU, I never thought I was going to have the opportunity to play in this type of atmosphere. So like every day, I still come in a Doak every day, and I can't believe that I'm still a part of Florida State football. And it's a lifelong tradition, and I can't believe I'm a part of it. And I'm just really excited to see what this season has in store.
Well, you made a lot of fans last year, man. You, as Jeff said, offensive line play, they get a lot of criticism, but you obviously came in, adapted right away to that level, played at a really high level, really kind of helped become a leader on this team. And then coming back this season, my last question for you is, was that a tough decision at all? Obviously, your season got cut short last year due to injury. But you've been in college now for a while. Was there much debate, or were you eager to come back for another year?
Just for me, there wasn't really much of a debate at all. I saw what Coach Norvell, like what direction he has the program headed towards, and I just wanted to be a part of that. Like I wanted to be a part of the turnaround that FSU is going to have, and I couldn't miss on the opportunity. I couldn't miss another year with Coach Atkins and all the knowledge he brought me in a COVID year. But really, we only had 3 or 4 months where we were in the same room. And Coach Norvell and Coach Dillingham, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to learn from them.
Devontay, one last thing, I guess, because you brought up Coach Atkins. We love covering practice in part because we get to hear him coaching you guys. He coaches you guys hard, but you can tell he's passionate about your success, obviously wants to win desperately, but isn't afraid to tell you guys when perhaps technique isn't where it needs to be. What's your favorite part about being coached by a guy who is that intense day to day?
It's his consistency. He's never too high or too low. He's the same guy, whether we're winning or losing. He always wants us to pay attention to detail. It doesn't matter if we ran for 400 yards. If you don't take the right footwork, it doesn't matter if we scored a touchdown. If your footwork was wrong, you're going to hear about it when you get to the sideline. He doesn't care about the end result. He cares about the process.
The show is going to be called Trench Talk with Devontay Love Taylor. It's a weekly show only on Warchant TV. That first installment of Trench Talk scheduled for Sunday, August the 15th at 5 p.m. on Warchant TV. Devontay, we really do appreciate you coming on. We can't wait to listen to the show, and we'll have you on throughout the course of the year. Best of luck, sir, in camp, and we'll talk again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, man.
That's Devontay Love Taylor, aforementioned. As I said, that show, Trench Talk, begins Sunday, August the 15th at 5 p.m. on Warchant TV. The show is driven by you guys, the fans. You can submit questions to Devontay via YouTube chat, Facebook, and Twitter. This is going to be really cool. Fans always want to talk to players, and players, I think, would love to talk to fans oftentimes too and give their side of why a performance was what it was, or why a play worked or didn't work, or why the result was that what we saw. And
cut us out of the middle. We don't need us.
Right. Well, I want to point out before we get into that, like Ira, I think you asked 5 questions. Jeff, you asked 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I believe only one of us got, hey, man, that's a good question. And that was, I mean, again, I'm on a roll.
I'm discovering something, though.
Right. Okay.
There's a yearning in your voice. There's a neediness to the way the question's phrased.
And I think maybe sometimes the other person feels that.
They pick up on it a little bit, like, I need to give this guy a compliment.
These are empaths.
Right.
These are guys that recognize your pain and the need for affirmation.
They see it in your eyes, man.
Hey, either way,
I love that.
I got one.
Yeah, you got
whatever
it.
you got to do to elicit a good question for a response from someone. I got it twice, two days in a row.
That was our first headlines interview, and to let people know, probably our last.
Well, we may have a few more. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. The show is growing by leaps and bounds, and once more people get a chance to get a taste of this greatness,
that's true.
I have a feeling we'll be in demand. So that's one of those things where we don't want to limit ourselves, Ira.
All right.
And that's been our motto for years: is taste the greatness.
Taste the greatness. And we've had a couple of logos that were shot down because of it. So that's a toughie. Remember, headliners, subscribe to Warchant TV today. Please hit the thumbs up below this video so we can pop up on the feeds. For all of you who have never heard of the show, welcome in, and thanks to our friends here at 93.3 FM Real Talk Radio for allowing for this to continue. We're excited. We'll continue with more in a moment.
Your local news now.
On Friday, August 8th, Governor Ron DeSantis paid a visit to Chipola College and gave them a check for nearly $355,000. This check will go towards improving the cybersecurity program at Chipola, particularly training and certification opportunities in network security and digital forensics. Chipola College officials say there are currently about 500,000 unfulfilled cybersecurity jobs, and they want to equip their students to fill them. Governor DeSantis said the reason cybersecurity jobs are growing is due to security threats from overseas. The money from this grant will start going out to students as soon as next semester. The historic gaming compact between the state of Florida and the Seminole tribe of Florida was deemed approved by the U.S. Department of the Interior. This is the largest gaming contract in history and will generate a minimum of $2.5 billion in new revenue to the state over the next 5 years, as well as an estimated $6 billion through 2030. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Mac&More Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at macandmoresystems.com.
What do you need tires on? Your car or truck, tractor, or heavy equipment? At Nice Tire and Auto Service, we have tires for all these needs. And we service your vehicle from air conditioning and computerized alignment to oil changes and everything else under the hood. Call Nice Tire and Auto today at 574-4100. That's 574-4100 for your scheduled maintenance. National accounts welcome at Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
Parker Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. Fix your roof, cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
In 2020, the entire country spent more time under their roofs than ever before. If you notice that your shingles are curling, buckling, or blistering, it could be an indication that your roof is reaching the end of its life expectancy. At Parker Brothers Roofing, we know that getting a new roof system is a big investment. We make it easy with free estimates, affordable financing, and professional installation every time since 1995. Give us a call today or find us online at parkerbrothersroofing.net.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
TGC 042221. CCC 049350.
Greg Tish, Real Talk 93.3.
Hey everybody, this is Greg Tish. Thank you so much for listening to Real Talk 93.3. Don't forget you can check out me and Maddie Rowe every Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Greg Tish Show. Wake up with a smile with the Greg Tish Show. How's that sound, Maddie Rowe? Is that a good promo for you?
That's good enough for me.
Is that good? Are we at 30 seconds yet?
Right about now.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Squirrel attacks and FSU talk. That's what Seminole Headlines does. More now.
Gator Kirk is the first to hit the button, hook us up. Guys, we've got an echo. It's live radio. He says, Gator Kirk, let's go.
That's it?
Well, he gave us some money, so I had to read that, guys. He did. He gave us some money. He tipped us in the chat.
Okay, well, that's exciting.
What a wonderful invention this is.
Yeah.
This ability to give us money as we perform our duties. I would encourage more of you to do it. Eric Angel did as well. What's up, Warchant crew? How's fall going lately? Is there any information on Destin Hill and being I can't read the rest of this, being this team or possibly the future? Let's go Noles.
Destin Hill. Yeah. So he was really the marquee player, one of the marquee players in this signing class for Florida State. Was supposed to come in as a freshman this fall. They found out during the summer he was not going to come in the fall. He's a wide receiver. I don't know. There was a lot of people excited about Destin Hill possibly helping this team this year. If you look back historically, even at Mike Norvell's offenses before and also at Florida State, freshman wide receivers, true freshmen, don't traditionally have a huge impact, but he would have been nice to have, no question. Something came up family related. The plan from everything we've heard is that he's going to enroll at Florida State in January. He is still planning to come to Florida State. He's going to be a Nole, but he's not going to be here this season.
I will note the reason people are desperately wanting to know more information about wide receiver is there is a lack of explosiveness there, and there has been for some time. Now, we hope Parchment helps change some of that. So far, so good for him. I think a big thing, you guys pointed it out on Warchant.com. I can't remember who wrote the article.
Probably me.
Could have been Corey, though. He needs the affirmation. I think it was Corey Clark who may have written about Parchment.
Parchment, yeah, that definitely was me, Ira.
Yeah. There you go, buddy. See? I've got with the program today. It's a theme.
I recorded the video.
But you also don't need it. You don't need
maybe a little.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd like a little bit.
Once he gets a lot of love.
Yeah, it seems excessive. The point is, I think the biggest thing that came out of that I read, probably the most intriguing sentence in the entire piece, was the fact that he doesn't mind being coached hard, because it didn't look that way through the first few days, in my opinion. And nobody likes to be yelled at. Nobody likes to be screamed at. And he's being screamed at after every single play about technique. I wasn't judging him. I just wondered how well he was taking it.
But I think it's an adjustment for him. I mean, I just don't think he's ever experienced that before. Not only is he getting it from Dugans, but Mike Norvell was a wide receiver.
And he's telling him about it.
Yeah, and he was at Kansas, man. I mean, how many coaches do they have out there?
Do they practice?
6. Do they practice? They practice in the corn. Like, they don't take it seriously out there. And now he's at a place where they take it dead seriously, and Norvell is always on you. And you got to adjust to it. You can't just go through the motions with this guy, especially as a wide receiver, and think you're going to get away with it. He's going to be on you all the time.
And in this situation, because you were as bad as they were at wide receiver a year ago,
you, man. Yeah.
He's only here for 1 year, so they can't invest. This can't be a long-term process. He needs to be ready by September 5th against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I was just about to echo that. I was about to say that they have to have him playing at a high level on the ready. It has to happen week 1, game 1 against Notre Dame. Now, I will say, while we're on the subject of wide receiver, we get asked all the time, the three of us do, and really anybody associated with covering Florida State has probably heard this question a million times over. What do you think the record's going to be? What do you think their upside is? If everything goes right, can they win 8 games? All of that. And a lot of it comes back to, are certain players who were in this program a year ago or even the year before that making huge strides? Is there a chance that we're going to get a breakout year from somebody that we could not have predicted? And I do think, now again, I'm not ready to just say this is going to happen, but I've been pleased with Keyshawn Helton.
No doubt.
I've been really pleased with the Keyshawn Helton we've seen, because he looks like the explosive version of himself again. He looks like the guy way before the injury. And that could be absolutely huge, because they're lacking home run hitters, and he has made some dynamic, explosive plays early on in these first practices.
He looks like one of the best players on the field.
Yeah, he's quick. He's explosive. You kind of realized, okay, that's because when we saw him last year, you're like, oh, I don't know. Does he look like he did as the year before? And you couldn't really quantify it. But now that you see what he is at full speed, you're like, oh, yeah, that clearly wasn't him last year.
Well, he had the bulky knee brace, and it was, the mental impact. I mean, he didn't just tear his ACL. He tore like 3 ligaments, destroyed his kneecap. I mean, it was a terrible, terrible injury. And if you look back a couple of games before that, and he was a freshman at the time, a couple of games before that, I think he was a freshman, or was he a sophomore before he got hurt? I think he was a freshman.
Could have been.
But anyway, he's
a sophomore.
He was a sophomore, but he had a couple nice games before the injury. Like he was coming on midway through that season when he went down. And then last year was kind of a wash for all the reasons plus of his injury. But man, we started seeing it in the spring, but now the quickness, I knew the quickness would be there. I always thought he'd be a good slot receiver. The way he's pulling away from people in the secondary is
he's
really
running
impressive.
away from people. Yeah, it's huge for him to be good. I mean, for him to be explosive and to give them another option on that front. Because right now, prior to seeing some of that, you were thinking they're going to have to score on long 10, 12 play drives. They don't have guys that are going to run away from people. They're not going to be able to, you're not going to have the big home run 80-yard touchdown pass because they don't have guys that can do that. If he can beat that and Parchment adds to it, they get a chance to be a little bit better, a little bit more explosive, I guess, on offense. I don't think they're going to be a team that scores a lot on big plays. I think they're going to have to be somewhat methodical. People don't want to hear that, but it seems to me that they're going to have to be smart and a bit methodical, but maybe more explosive than we had given them credit for because of guys like Keyshawn Helton.
And they didn't make a ton of big plays last year, but the ones they did were every single one was because of Jordan Travis. either a scramble, a run, or a scramble away and then make a throw to somebody that's gotten open. So if Jordan Travis isn't the starting quarterback and, I don't know, 50-50 right now, legitimately, I who knows? It's just been 3 practices. Then, yeah, you're losing your most dynamic playmaker from a season ago. Somebody's got to fill that void. Well, Keyshawn Helton looks the part. Pokey looks good, too, by the way. Those two veterans are the only 2 in one-on-ones against the veteran DBs in that first session that do anything. And they've looked pretty good.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody recently about Pokey, somebody around the program, who was pointing out that, he didn't really come in as a wide receiver. He came in as a DB. And he didn't get great coaching early on. The David Kellys of the world. And, he did. And then they had
David leaning up against the goalpost, Kelly.
the changing of the coaching staffs and everything else. And last year, this staff comes in, but it's a COVID year, and Pokey was injured for part of the year, missed a lot of camp, I think. And so now they feel like they're starting to see what he really could be. So, yeah, again, it's not going to be the Fab Four, but it could be a lot better than it was a year ago.
Can you name the Fab Four?
You talking about the Beatles?
No, the Florida State wide receivers from the 80s.
No.
Dawsey, Lassane.
Lassane is who I was going to screw up. Yeah.
Ronald Lewis and Terry Anthony.
I got those, but I wouldn't have remembered Lassane.
Lassane's the tough one. Lassane's
the tough one. When you asked it, I was like, I can't remember okay. But I can do this. I can tell you that there are certain limitations on what we'll talk about as far as our observations of practice. And just because we're respectful of what they, injuries, things like that we've talked about before. But I think we can all agree on this while we're on the subject of what we've seen, because it goes back to the spring as well. My man, Mackenzie Milton, does not care for practice. I don't get a sense that
he's a franchise player. You're going to talk about practice?
I'm talking about practice. I'm talking about practice. And the good news is we saw that when the lights came on, he looked great in the spring game, and he was dropping dimes. Because if you're just going to judge by what we see at practice, if we were going to be serious, we would tell you he's losing by a mile. And maybe not this time. He was in the spring. But he has these moments and these days where you're like, I'm not real sure my man wants to be here. And that's not a knock. It's just that he is not a big-time practice player.
Well, I do think there's different parts of practice, too.
Yes.
Like Jordan, in the one-on-ones and 7-on-7 even, Jordan looks phenomenal.
I
mean, looks really good at times.
11-on-11.
I think that's where McKenzie might
stand out.
Show what he does.
Well, the one thing he does that I think that Jordan still has to work on, like, the arm strength isn't much different. I'd say Jordan has a stronger arm, but they both can throw spirals occasionally. But McKenzie, when he lets it go, it's quick. He sees it, trusts it, throws it. Jordan, even sometimes in 7-on-7,
has to roll out.
He's not. It's not as quick to me as Milton. But there's a gain and loss there. With Milton sees it quicker, but does he make a better throw? Can he avoid the sack? Can he get out of the pocket? Can he do the things that Jordan does? It's going to be really interesting because, there are some throws that Milton makes in practice where you're like, man, he threw that at his ankle.
Straight in the ground.
Or a flutter bomb, like a quail, straight up in the air. And there's other times where he shows he can throw the ball.
Man, he had a beautiful pass yesterday down the sideline.
He'll do some back shoulder stuff. He'll drop it in between two guys. You're like, oh, there's 2017. And then there'll be another one. It's like, man, that.
But his reputation, even at UCF, was that he did not practice well.
That's when I was also going to say, Tom pointed this out. When you look at his numbers, he's like a 50-something% passing completion percentage.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a guy that's ever been like Mr. Efficiency. You're going to get some magic, but you're also going to get somewhere you're like, what?
Their coaches at UCF were able to basically share with people that I know, sources that I have, that, he was never a great practice player, but they just knew when the game was played, that's the guy you wanted leading the team. And we saw that in the spring game. We've seen that in some moments of the 11-on-11. So I think that's probably true. I think the benefit, Corey, at the end of the day, to Mackenzie Milton seeing it quicker is that, plays don't have to become boom or bust. It could just be that you live to fight another day. Let's get us out of this bad play. Throw it away, 2nd and 10 instead of 2nd and 18. And, we're not going to need him to scramble and run around. We need him to recognize that this is a play that can't work. And I just need to get out of it as quickly as possible or take advantage of it, obviously a matchup.
And he can move too. Like there was a scramble he had yesterday or the day before where he, it was probably a 25-yard run before the DBs had even turned around. He can move now. He's not slow. He's not Jordan Travis. And in fact, all of them can. Like Rodemaker. Rodemaker's an athlete, but he had a scramble yesterday.
Yeah.
He's like, man, he can run.
He started running, and it was like, dude, he's flying.
Yeah,
he really runs.
Yeah, and he can. If you've seen the clip, he can do a backflip. He can do a tomahawk dunk. Chuba obviously can run. So they've got 4 guys where I was joking with Aslan on Wake Up Warchant. It almost seems like they're telling these guys in 11-on-11, if the first read isn't wide open, tuck it and run. Because that seems like what they do most every play.
Subscribe to Seminole Headlines, The Jeff Cameron Show, and Wake Up Warchant today. The podcast of the Warchant.com multimedia network can be found wherever you get your favorite podcasts. More of Seminole Headlines on 93.3 Real Talk Radio in a moment.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. Get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Your body is a masterpiece designed to heal itself from within. Learn how to maximize your health by tuning in to Phenomenal Health with me, Dr. Ryan Finn. Saturdays at 2:30. Experience true health today and call Finn Chiropractic at 386-7700.
Leaky faucet, busted pipes, clogged toilet? M&L Plumbing is here for you. For all commercial, construction, and residential plumbing issues, call M&L Plumbing at 575-9393 or visit online at mnlplumbing.com.
Hey Tallahassee, this is Sarah with Seminole Auto Glass. There's so much more to auto glass than most people know. It's part of the car's structural integrity and one of the few things keeping you in the car in the event of a collision, which is why it's so important who you use. The big insurance company is going to gripe and complain anyway. Don't let them tell you where to go. Go with who you know. Seminole Auto Glass has over 25 years experience. We use the highest quality products from start to finish because we know the importance of what we do. Experience the Seminole difference. We are more than just a glass company. We are your local auto glass experts. Better call Seminole.
When the forgotten poor are in need of healing, they wait for a ship unlike any other. Mercy Ships, a floating hospital staffed by volunteers, heroes of mercy who donate their time to save lives.
Every human has the right to have a place at the table of the human race.
If you could just see the smiles that you get when lives have been changed, then it would make it all worth it.
To learn more about Heroes of Mercy, go to mercyships.org.
You went online to switch your car insurance to Progressive so you could save money. But then you saw a friend request from an old summer camp buddy. And now here you are, clicking through photos of his kickball team from 2011. Oh, looks like they won the championship that year. Then he moved to Tulsa. Oh, a new tattoo. Yes, they said it was easy to save hundreds on car insurance with Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. National average savings by new customer surveyed who saved in 2019.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
We'll wrap up this hour, but don't forget, we will get to headliner questions. And actually, we've expanded the way that you can reach us for the show as Corey stares at himself yet again.
I was asking myself,
unbelievable.
I was asking myself in the last segment, I was making a little bit internally, which show or segment will be the first time he actually does flex?
Well, I don't have anything to flex really, but I was looking to see, because it's hard, man, on my neck to turn around and look at you.
You can though,
but
you
I
don't
can
have
just
to look at that camera.
I can
It's
see you in the
okay.
screen. I can just look at the screen and see you.
Mhm.
So I like this. I'm just going to talk
So
to
are you the
people.
kind of guy that goes to the game and watches it on the Jumbotron instead of actually watching the game?
Well, depending on where my seats are, yeah, because I can't see anything.
Man, at the Jerry's World.
Jerry's
we
World,
definitely
you
did
couldn't
it.
help
Yeah.
but do
Oh,
it.
I could, yeah. And
By the way, that
and those
stadium-
numbers.
The stadium's absurd.
Yeah. Well, the Mercedes-Benz is a lot like it. It was like a clone of that place. But yeah, it's a little too much.
Right
let's
off
be
the
honest.
top here on our YouTube feed, Warchant TV, we want to say thanks to Rob. Rob, my man, good on you, brother. We saw what you did. Thanks for supporting Seminole Headlines. We appreciate it very much. A lot of people, now I was explaining that a moment ago, we're going to have a more expanded role for all of you guys, the listeners who want to ask questions. There is, of course, the Facebook page, Seminole Headlines. There is also the Twitter page. Now, Ira is in charge totally of Twitter. I mean, I got a lot of things going on here, guys. I'm trying to direct and follow the StreamYard YouTube page, Warchant TV page, and all that. But we're getting questions now on there, too. Pretty soon, we may just funnel them all to one spot.
Well, let's hang on for a little while.
We got to gradually ease them into it, but we will. I do like having multiple options for people to ask us questions, and especially if they're going to do what Rob did and tip us. But I mean, obviously, I look in here. We've got plenty of good questions, and I'll get to some of those as well. People were talking about the personnel and what's possible. It's funny. I was listening to a show. I won't name which one it was. It's a national show, and it's got a bent towards gambling. And they had a significant segment on Bobby Bowden. They were honoring Bobby Bowden. But then from there, they said, how do you think the Noles are going to do this year? And it's funny to hear people in different parts of the country kind of what their assessment of where Florida State's at. I think Florida State fans, we're immersed in it, obviously, day to day. But like one guy was like, I think they can win the division. And I was like, this guy has never watched Florida State play in the last 4 years. Yeah. And the other guy laughed aloud and said, I think they'll finish last in the division. And it became this huge debate. I wonder how disparate the views are. I know what Vegas says. It's 5.5. Vegas is removing emotion here and just telling you 5.5 is the win total. If you're new to the show, this is something that you haven't heard talk about before. That's the fight this year. If you're wondering, what do we think? Yeah, I think 6-6 is a good year. I think if you get to the over on the 5.5, you've had a good year because it means you've won a game that you probably weren't favored to win at the very least.
And again, it's a stark reality when you hear that. When that 5.5.
I hate saying it out loud.
but
in 2014, I think their over was 11.5. The over-under was 11.5.
Coming off a national championship victory.
You've had all those people coming back, and it was that schedule that we didn't know was going to be that
They
tough.
did hit the over, I might add.
They did, yeah. There you go, Jimbo.
My favorite people are the ones who are like, they just refuse to accept it. Nope, that's not it. We're 10 wins.
Get a lot of those people in the world today.
Well, I guess that's how they build casinos in Las Vegas. But it's reality. I mean, they need to show progress. Winning 6 games would show progress. It would help them. It would just instill some confidence. Anything less than that's going to be dicey because people are not going to feel good about the progress the program's making. Anything over that, I think it just adds to the excitement about the future.
I will say that I did this, I did this in an argument with my father because he's pie in the sky right now.
Here he goes.
He's like 7 or 8 wins. Hey, I had to bring up your dad.
Talking about his dad.
Yeah.
I got a dad.
On the show Sunday night, he did like 4 times.
I know. That's all
I was like, well, maybe this isn't the time to bring that up.
No, for him, it's the perfect time.
Yeah, always.
Corey's feeling a little emotional thinking about his dad. Let me remind him my dad is alive and well.
And then I'll share more hugs with him this year at football games. It'll be amazing. We'll continue that long hug that you guys shared down in the Orange Bowl. It'll be amazing.
I'm sure there are a few people watching this that have never heard of us before or have any idea why. Jeff will make fun of the fact that Corey and I do not have living fathers, but
I don't make fun. You guys make that leap when I bring up my own father, to say that I'm making fun of you for not having yours.
Sticking the knife in a little bit,
a little.
Maybe you're leaping to that conclusion. I'm just talking about my very alive dad and I talking about football.
Is he gonna be here for one of the parties?
He's gonna be here for the first game. He'll be here. I told him to make sure he's here in time for either the Friday night party or the Saturday party.
Let's make it happen.
And we'll be pimping that here soon on the air.
And we'll get some private time.
You guys can go belly up and have a beer with him if you like.
A long embrace.
Maybe no beer, just hold each other.
Yeah, I mean, not weird, just for like 3 or 4 minutes. It's not going to be a crazy long time.
In the corner of a bar?
Yeah, just 2.
The rest of us will play darts and pool while you two are hugging.
I'm just kind of curled up. You're like, he envelops me.
I'll even tell him in advance that the only awkward part of that long embrace will be when you whisper, "Thanks, Dad."
Yeah, and he can kiss me on top of the head once. Just once.
That was his thing.
Well, okay. Yeah. Because you think he's going to go for number 2?
Well, I don't want him to think he has to keep doing it. Keep kissing me. Just the one on the head, the reassuring.
All right, so the show is now fully indoctrinated for people here now. They think of this. But anyhow, the debate was he's pie in the sky and saying 7 or 8 wins because he believes in Norvell. And I said, Dad, you know that you can do both. You can believe in Norvell. You can believe that he's put together a structure and organization that's going to move positively forward, and also admit that overnight you can't turn this thing around. If he could have a 5-win season and there could still be signs that it's moving in the right direction, people don't want to hear that either. 5 and 7, Jeff, and things are moving in the right direction. Yeah, I dare say it's
a tough sell. It's a tough sell.
It's possible though. And what I mean is if you lose close games to Notre Dame and Miami and God forbid Clemson, you're in those games.
You stop getting blown out by everybody.
That's any good. Yeah, I would
or
tell
average.
You, yeah. So I mean, again, Florida State's not favored to win 6 games. That number is 5.5. It is dicey. So, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, like Syracuse, obviously. But, I mean, one of the games that every Florida State fan I talk to before we go to break says that they know that Florida State's going to win is the Louisville game. What was the score of the Louisville game last year, guys?
It wasn't good.
Yeah, a lot to a little.
I think it was 48-16.
Okay.
So we're just going to say, oh, that's an easy win. That's nothing. No problem. Nope. Yeah. Listen, I don't think you can do that. So there are plenty of games that I think is going to be difficult for Florida State to win. But I also think that if you're making real progress, you're going to win some of those 50-50 games. You know what we won't talk about on this show right now, but maybe that week before the season starts? If you win 50-50 games, you make some kicks. We never bring up special teams on this show because we're so worried about the trenches, obviously, and the skill at the skill positions. But you got to make a kick. And for so long, Florida State could in the last number of years. But, man, I don't know about this year. Certainly not last.
Yeah, and it's tricky with kickers because you can't just recruit over them. Like if you have a problem at running back, man, just go pick up some transfers, sign some freshmen. You can, and that kid who's not doing well, he just goes to the wayside. With kickers and punters, you're kind of in there.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to fill 3 scholarship spots with kickers and punters. So Ryan Fitzgerald, Parker Grothaus, those guys have to step up.
Your questions coming up next. Stay with us, headliners.
If it's happening in the capital city, you'll hear it first on Real Talk 93.3 WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has resigned over sexual harassment allegations. Correspondent Bernie Bennett with that story.
Governor Andrew Cuomo announced his resignation over a barrage of sexual harassment allegations. In a televised address, the 63-year-old Democrat emphatically denied intentionally showing any disrespect toward women, but said that fighting back against what he called the politically motivated attack on him would subject the state to months of turmoil. And he said, I cannot be the cause of that. Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, a 62-year-old Democrat and former member of Congress, will become the state's 57th governor and the first woman to hold the post when Cuomo steps down in 2 weeks. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Also at townhall.com with a 69-30 vote today. The Senate approving the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan. A rare coalition of Democrats and Republicans joining together to deliver a cornerstone of President Biden's agenda. Passage providing momentum as it's now headed to the House. The package would provide almost $550 billion in new spending over 5 years for roads, bridges, broadband internet, water pipes, and other public works systems. National Hurricane Center specialist Jack Bevan says tropical storm warnings have been issued for the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, where a potential cyclone is expected to strengthen.
We do anticipate that sometime later today or tonight, it will develop into a tropical depression or tropical storm. And if that happens, it'll be named Tropical Storm Fred.
More than a month has passed since the last Atlantic storm. That was Hurricane Elsa. A U.S. peace envoy has brought a warning to the Taliban that any government that comes to power through force in Afghanistan will not be recognized internationally. Zalmay Khalilzad, hoping to persuade Taliban leaders to return to peace talks with the Afghan government. On Wall Street, stocks are mixed. The Dow up 170 points, but the Nasdaq is down 62 points. More at townhall.com.
Let's be boring and do a commercial about cash out refinances. It's Ryan, and our mortgage team will often have a listener say, I think I understand what a cash out refinance is, but can't that be bad for you sometimes? So let's hit on that. As with anything, it's certainly not the right move for everyone. If we don't have to, we don't want to add a bunch of years onto our loan or increase our monthly payment too much or pay more in the long run. But because home values have skyrocketed so far up the last few years, while rates have come so far down, we've seen many scenarios where listeners today can pull out a significant chunk of money from the new value in their home while lowering the years on the overall loan, while lowering their monthly payment and lowering how much they ultimately pay. The key is to just look at the whole picture and be honest with yourself about your situation. If you're looking for someone to show you your options, we are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Melville Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, Massachusetts, North Dakota, South Dakota.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
You know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
It's time for Seminole Headlines featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
All right, about time to get the headliner questions here, as we've always done. Now, if you're new to the show on Real Talk 93.3, then you don't know the format. This hour, the second hour of the show, is usually reserved for us to answer questions via Twitter, Facebook, and or Warchant TV. Now, if you're posting, we'll try to get to some of your questions as well, and that helps kind of diversify where we go on the show, because lots of people, as we build up to the season and certainly in season, want to know about certain aspects of the team and things that we've witnessed.
And the way you do it is there's actually a Seminole Headlines fan page, I guess, that on Facebook. So Corey will post usually the evening before, the afternoon before, sometimes the night before. He'll post a prompt for questions. You can respond there on Facebook. On Twitter, it's usually from my account at Ira Schofel, and I'll do the same thing the night before. And then, as Jeff said, we'll have the live chat now.
So CLT writes right off the bat, business question. Is one of, or the main reason, Warchant was able to pull together the new team because of Norvell's media policy. If Jimbo were still around, would there have been enough content creation opportunities to justify adding to the head count? That's a great question. I think he's probably right. If this was not an open door policy, I don't know that we would all be working together right now.
It's a fair question, but I think the thing you got to remember is, like, I feel like headlines and really Warchant, a lot of media outlets really succeed and have interest when things are going really well
or really poorly.
Really poorly. Yeah. And so this
we run the gamut there.
Yeah. What you don't want is the last couple of years of Jimbo's tenure before the last year. The last year got spicy, but the 10-3 seasons got a little bit boring.
I mean,
they did, man.
Okay, but we're coming off imagine somebody listening to you say the 10-3 season of Florida State got boring.
But I was really incensed by the 10-3 season.
You said you kept saying he can't keep doing this.
He's going to be on
the hot seat. I'm like, dude, he can go 10-3 for the rest of his career.
And the answer was no, he couldn't.
Well, no, he definitely couldn't. He went 3-6 and then got out of town.
Well, I just feel like even with what they were doing back then was losing games to teams they had no business losing to. And this was if I was going to criticize Bowden for that, I was going to criticize Jimbo for that. You had a listless group that was kind of tuning him out. The culture was getting toxic. We knew that.
I mean, the Lamar Jackson game up there.
They could have scored 100 points.
Was it a year they won 10 games?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. They won the Orange Bowl that year.
Well, that was against Michigan. That was my point, though. Like, you would see this
Jabril Peppers didn't play.
Oh,
that's right.
Jabril Peppers
forgot about that. Nobody can remember that. They never really mentioned it either. It was amazing. Right. But what I kept thinking was, like, you would see that team take the field and you go, the talent is such that they should never give up 60-something points to somebody like they did that day at Louisville. But also, when you don't have control of your team and they're not feeling you that week in practice, you would get those kinds of clunkers. Think about the Boston College game where guys were yucking it up on the sideline while getting their head kicked in by BC.
35-3.
I mean, that was...
But they didn't quit. Just want to make sure you knew.
They didn't quit.
By the way, I asked him that question, and he answered that they had, and that it was disturbing.
Not when I asked him.
Of course. By the time... Because I asked him on a Sunday night, and he said that they had quit, and that was disturbing. And he apologized to the fan base. By the time it was asked again in the Monday, I went back and looked. They didn't quit.
Okay.
Yeah, they did, man. Yeah,
but anyway, the question is, I still think it would be, I still think we make the moves we made, and Tom and Jeff and I come over. I don't know that the open door media policy had that much. Maybe it did. I don't know.
It certainly doesn't hurt.
It's great. It's awesome. But I don't know that it
facilitated the
Warchant staff that's been put together.
Really quickly, Chris writes, if Ann plants the spear versus Notre Dame, which I don't think is going to happen.
Oh, no.
And we are in a tight
Are people
game.
Talking about that? Like that would be...
No.
People are throwing out all kinds of things. They want the stadium name changed.
that one has a better chance of having it than planting the spear.
But they've got a bunch of people they want to throw out the spear.
How about Mickey?
Can he throw the spear?
Yeah, if Ann can, Mickey can.
Well, I mean, we got to call a reverse, right? Writes Chris. Is there any way it doesn't work in that atmosphere on that night? Take us home, Bobby. Yeah, it's pie in the sky. It's nice. It will be, to his larger point, I think, a really emotional night. That it was already going to be electric. It was already going to be amazing. I'm sure Florida State is going to have an amazing tribute to Bobby Bowden on the Jumbotron for all to see, and there'll be a pregame right there at midfield, ceremony of sorts.
Right.
I don't know what that'll look like or what that will sound like, but surely they're going to do something that will have the Seminole faithful buoyed.
Well,
again, it was already going to be.
You play Seminole win throughout the pregame.
No, we're not doing that.
Oh,
that would ruin
break.
That would ruin the
win.
pregame, whatever it was that we were doing.
I don't know. I mean, it's a nice idea, and I'm sure Mike Norvell would like to, pay homage to Bobby Bowden, but his priority is going to be trying to win that game. If a reverse is what helps it happen, great, but he's not going to do it.
You better have one trick play. Have one trick play. Every team has like 12, right? He can break out one against Notre Dame. Yeah.
You're not getting to the promised land with a bunch of trick plays.
But just one. Okay. Just one.
Noel Yakin writes, what are the rules for reporting on practice? What things can't you guys talk about? Well, I'll start. Injuries. We're not allowed to talk about injuries. We can ask about a player, but we're not allowed to go in like let's say I go to practice in the morning and then come in here and do my show at 1:00. I can't come on the air and say so-and-so looks to have torn his ACL today. I mean, we're not doing that.
But, at the end of practice, if Norvell's speaking that day, you can ask him, hey, do you have an update on so-and-so?
Basically, if we see a defensive end get carted off, we can't tweet so-and-so just got carted off holding his knee. What we can do is ask Norvell about it right afterwards, and he'll say
what he wants to say.
And then we can. Basically, they just don't want family members and people like that finding out via
the press,
Twitter, via social media about an injury like that. They'd rather the player have a chance and the coach have a chance to talk about it.
Also, I'm sorry. I was just going to say real quick. The other thing is you're not going to tweet out or discuss formations, trick plays, things that would put them at a strategic disadvantage against an opponent who could glean that information.
And same thing with some of the depth chart stuff. They just prefer us to not go into that because it's going to be changing. And they also if they're doing a position change or something like that, or working somebody a position, they may not want the other teams to find out about during the season. Well, if some people are listening to this thinking, well, gee, why are you guys even out there? Well, it does provide context for us. It's very helpful to us. And as 99.9% of the college coaches have proven, they can just shut it down completely, and then we don't see anything.
Right.
So this is better than the alternative.
Also, I asked Coach Norvell at the luncheon directly, am I allowed to come on the air and give my opinion about who's winning the job? And he said, yeah, be careful about it. You don't want to say so-and-so is taking this many more reps over this guy than that guy, but I can come on the air and give my opinion, and I'll preface it as such. It seems to me that so-and-so's played better at this point than so-and-so. We don't know for sure because we don't know the plays being called and the execution of those plays. There could have been breakdowns, and it wasn't the quarterback's fault, for example, if I'm talking about a quarterback. But, as long as you use common sense.
And to his credit, he said he knows we're going to say things and write things that he doesn't like. And that's not going to be what determines whether or not we stay in there. It's whether or not we violate, the protocols.
Michael writes, stay with me here. It's the Clemson game. Okay. It's 21-21 with 90 seconds left. I'm already in tears.
Yeah.
My goodness, what a victory.
Yeah, no matter what happens.
No matter what happens from this point forward. Norvell calls a punt Ruski. There's no question here. I'm just writing the FSU Disney movie screenplay, dadgummit, go no.
I feel like they'd see...
You might see it coming?
Yeah, I was going to say, if Dabo gets beat by the punt Ruski 33 years later, come on, man. Dabo knows all about it. In fact, he said that when he talked to Bowden, he was on the phone with him a couple weeks ago. He said that when he was talking to him, he was actually in the end zone where Leroy Butler was running to, and that's what he told Bowden. He's like, I'm in that end zone where you ran the punt Ruski. So that was a cool little moment.
You were at that game?
I was at that game.
That's crazy.
And, back then it was 1988. So all we saw was us lining up to punt. Chip Ferguson had almost thrown an interception.
Because you were in that end zone?
We were in the end zone away from where
they ran right to you.
They ran towards us.
Yeah.
So all we see is the punter leap up over, and we're like, oh, we're going to lose this game 23-21 on a
heartbreaking
flipping bad snap. But at that point, a tie felt like a loss because you'd already lost to Miami. So it's like if you lose again, if you tie, that's like a loss. And then the next thing we know, I see Butler running down the sideline. You can't even see if he has the ball or not. I'm like, well, what's he doing? Like,
they never blocked him
because all they do, everybody goes to the left. And the punt returner, who was Donnell Wolford, was so confused. He ran to the left, stopped, saw Butler run into the side. It's like that.
It's the oblique moment.
And then kept running to the left, and then finally realized, oh, he has the ball, and got him at the 2. But we didn't see what had happened until the next morning, because it's not like I could get on my phone and see the highlight, and they weren't replaying it on the Jumbotron at Death Valley. Like, hey, do you want to see this again? So, yeah, we didn't see it again until the next morning.
Ryan writes, hey, buddy. Well done, Ryan.
Nice.
Yep.
Since Bowden passed away Sunday morning, there's been a surplus of constant positive coverage about not just a great man and mentor, but also the FSU dynasty and dominance. I was shocked when I would hear SEC radio/TV shows highlight how great of a coach he was in the 80s and 90s and profusely praise our dynastic run. So I asked this, can you think of another coach that was praised this much by rival conferences when he passed away? Thoughts and prayers to Ann and the Bowden family.
I think the only thing I can think of is like if somebody, their success maybe.
Yeah.
But not
you
them
will
as a
certainly
person,
get acknowledged for your successes, right? Everybody. Yeah. We were talking about that a little bit the other day. I mean, like, is there any doubt that every coach from every conference, the day Nick Saban decides to hang it up and walks away, will, obviously extol the virtues and domination of Nick Saban and how well he did. But yes, they will not have all of the personal stories and the remembrances as we described. So,
no, it'll be they'll talk about what he did on the football
wins.
field.
They'll talk about his wins.
And that's the difference. At Bobby Bowden's memorial service, everything the last 2 days, it's been a lot more about Bobby Bowden the person than even Bobby Bowden the coach. Bobby Bowden was a great coach.
Exactly, which is just amazing when you consider the fact of what he did. In the conversation, some people, I've seen rivals put out something, is Bobby Bowden like one of the top 5 coaches of all time? And to me, it's like, yeah, obviously. But he also, because of the situation he inherited and starting basically from scratch, they were 0-11 2 years before.
Yeah.
He's in the argument for the best ever because of what he took over. Nick Saban didn't take over Florida State. And I'm not saying that Bobby's better than Nick Saban, but he created something.
Yeah.
He's, again, going to be the last of his kind. Somebody's not going somewhere and creating something from nothing into a dynastic run like Bobby Bowden.
But even
it's not
before
going to happen.
Even before the dynasty, right? Like, he got there in 76. The 3 previous years, Florida State was 4-29.
4-29. Yeah.
4-29. The next 5 years, they were 44-14 with 3 10-win seasons. They never had a 10-win season. He has 3 in his first 5 years and 2 Orange Bowls. Like, it was, and then the dynasty didn't come for almost another decade.
Yeah.
That's how good he was initially he turned Kansas into USC quickly. That doesn't get enough attention, I think, because of the dynasty run.
I think what's cool about that is when you put an emphasis on those early days of him turning a program around and building a program into something of significance, and later on to be the upper echelon and best program in college football for a stretch, then you are noting his acumen for the game and his innovations and his ability to motivate and teach, right? Because you can't do that without being able to do all of those things I just described. Now, later on, he does become a CEO coach, and there's no getting around that. But then he was a hands-on, do-everything guy, and when you put the emphasis on that, you're reminded that he was so much more than the grandfatherly old man on the sideline at the end, allowing his assistant coaches to do all the play calling. I mean, he had to be all things to all people when he got here.
And for a period, it was our greatest strengths are our greatest weaknesses. And for a while, his micromanaging the offensive coordinators was a real problem.
Until it's the great story Mark Richt tells all the time. And I remember Mark Richt telling me, I asked him about this years and years ago when I first broke into the business. He said he had to pull Coach Bowden aside, and he was sheepish about it because he had such admiration and love for him. And he said, Coach, I don't mind, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't mind if you call the plays during the game. I mean, you're the head coach. If you want to call plays, call plays. But if you're going to tell me that I'm calling the plays, then I'm going to need you to let me call the plays.
Yeah.
Because what would happen is Mark Richt would call a series of plays, and then Bobby, getting antsy, would want to do something, and then he would take over the headset and kind of call some plays of his own. And Mark was explaining, I can't set things up if you do that. I'm calling certain things, as you know, Coach, to set other things up for a quarter from now.
Right.
And if you interrupt that, I can't get back to it. So Coach Bowden was gracious enough and obviously humble enough at that time to say, you know what, you're right, buddy. It's yours. And Coach Rick always appreciated that and gave him love for that. But that's pretty interesting.
And the same thing with the fast break. I mean, that wasn't what he wanted to run. I mean, that was not the offense he wanted. That was not his offense.
Yeah.
But they adapted because that's what Charlie could run. And it became the greatest show on
unstoppable.
On grass.
Yeah.
Well, and a willingness to do that again for a guy that had that much success prior is rarely seen. This is where you get into, it's not a knock to be a CEO head coach. We learned that subsequently. I used to think it was. I looked at coaches in two different categories, the guys that called their own plays and those who didn't. But then I watched certain other coaches go on to have immense success as a quote-unquote CEO coach. And it wasn't that they couldn't do those other things. It's that they stepped away from it so they could see the bigger picture and allow for their coaches to do a better job. Right. And then they could weigh in on big picture stuff. And that, but most coaches who've had a ton of success are not going to allow you to radically alter what they've done to have that success. Most of the time they're going to say, no, we're not doing that. Yeah. We're not just going to spread it out and run things out of the shotgun and the fast break off.
Yeah, they're not going to change their offense for one player. They're going to be like, man, I've won a ton of games, 200 games plus.
Yeah.
Without you, Charlie Ward. You adapt to my offense. I'm not going to adapt.
Or I'm going to find somebody else.
Yeah.
Remember, headliners, subscribe to Warchant TV today. Please hit the thumbs up below the video so we can pop up on the feeds of those that have not seen the show before or heard of it before. And certainly thanks to all of you listening here on Real Talk Radio 93.3. More headliner questions forthcoming. Stay with.
Hey, guys, it's Greg Tish. It's summertime. It's grilling time. But with a grill that just won't light, you're just going to end up with the summertime blues. Yeah, blues and barbecue go hand in hand, but if you get a custom outdoor kitchen built from Hearth and Patio, you'll feel like a rock star every time those flames kick on. They also sell a full line of incredible high-end grills like Fire Magic, Blaze, and Broil Master, all designed to deliver the ultimate in beauty, performance, and durability. Everything you need to elevate your grilling experience can be found at Hearth and Patio. In fact, anything related to fire can be found at Hearth and Patio. Fire pits, gas lighting, indoor and outdoor fireplaces, wood stoves, and even custom-built pizza ovens. Go see for yourself. Check out their services and products online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. That's hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Or give them a call, 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. At Hearth and Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
We live in an asphalt and concrete jungle, and as much as we try to dress up our front yards with grass and other greenery, the driveway still stands out as the most prominent feature of our homes. If your driveway looks like the surface of the moon, it's probably time to call Fultonier Construction. Custom concrete driveway and sidewalk repairs. Call Fultonier Construction today for a free estimate at 509-6019. That's 509-6019. Life can be a bumpy road, but Fultonier Construction is here to smooth things out.
When some slithery, slimy something shows up uninvited in my home, I want it gone now. Not next Tuesday, not tomorrow. Today. Pretty sure I'm not sleeping knowing that thing is crawling around in my house. That's why I call Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Here in Tallahassee, Paul's guarantees same-day service if I call before 1. Ants, roaches, mice, wasps, fleas, whatever it is, Paul's responds with guaranteed same-day service. Pretty sure I've never heard that from any other pest company. Guess that's an advantage to being a locally owned and operated company like Paul's Termite and Pest Control. They're here and make things happen fast.
We at Paul's know when you have some pest or rodent in your home, you want it out now. That's why in Tallahassee, we guarantee same-day service. You call us before 1, we'll be there before 5, guaranteed. That's our commitment to you. The health and protection of North Florida friends and neighbors is the reason we love our jobs.
For the elimination of termites or any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all. Learn more at callpauls.com.
You don't see them. You don't even know they're there. But your body knows. And your lungs know. Your air ducts hide them. I'm talking about the viruses, mold, and bacteria that hide in your air duct system and make you miserable. Fact is, we're all spending more time indoors now than ever before. And your allergies, asthma, sinus congestion, headaches, and drowsiness can all be attributed to those little devils hiding in your home. But what can you do? Well, it's easy. You call E&B Heating and Air and ask about air purifiers and ionizers that promote healthier air and can kill up to 99% of the viruses, mold, and bacteria polluting your home. E&B is also offering spring specials on air duct cleanings for just $4.99 and an AC tune-up for $99. For a healthier home, call E&B Heating and Air today at 848-0187. That's 848-0187. Or just find them online at enbheatingandair.com. They sell the best, fix the rest. or it's free.
License number CAC 057604. These recruiting updates are nothing but fluff.
Are you wasting your time again on free blogs and social media to get the scoop on FSU recruiting?
Yeah, it's all bait and switch. You're on Warchant.com. What's really going on with FSU recruiting?
Could be another top 5 class, but for the real scoop, you'll need to get your own Warchant subscription.
What's it cost?
Free. There's a 30-day trial offer. Just sign up and you'll get full access through signing day. And nobody has more accurate and timely information than Warchant.com.
You know I like free. Sign me up. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole source.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Tom wants to know what happened to Kenny Dillingham's leg. Saw him with the brace and crutches at practice. I don't think I've seen an update that says what happened. He hurt himself playing basketball, guys.
Non-contact injury, I think. A non-contact injury, I think.
I think we should go with a little, like maybe he fought off a gang of robbers in a bank.
And saved somebody's life?
Yes.
And tore his patella doing it?
In the course of it.
Okay. That's probably a better story.
Jonesing for FSU writes, happy to see you fellas still trying to take over the world. Not much of a question, but gentlemen, it's time to up your game. We need a Seminole Headlines logo for that ass.
We got one kind of. I like what Tom put together. Yeah. That was a good one. That was right off the cuff. Like that was last minute.
And we may have a new photo. I think we may get a new photo to throw in there. So
we have a photo shoot immediately following today's headlines. We're not accustomed to this level of fame, but we're gonna have to get used to it, guys.
And we're not always gonna wear we're not always gonna wear the logos. Like,
I'm gonna wear my muscle shirts from. This was the one time thing where this.
Now that Corey is aware that if we maintain the current camera setup, that he can sport tank tops.
We're gonna come next week, and he's gonna be like oiling up.
Yeah. That's all I'm gonna be doing. I'm not gonna even talk.
His bald head, his chest.
I mean, it is a glare off that thing. Holy moly! This wasn't thought well at all.
It's the first one, man.
Okay,
we got a lot of things we got to do.
Okay.
The lighting is above you. We're gonna move some things around. It's a toughie. Right there, the logo that we do have on Twitter that you can see where it says Seminole Headlines. The boys are at it again, and down below there's a quote from Jerry Smith, owner of Pistols and Pie, who says, "I love everything about these guys."
Yeah. Jerry, thank you, Jerry.
Jerry, we always appreciate that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask a question from the Warchant TV guys who were kind enough to weigh in and ask a bunch of questions. And I got to pull them up as we go here. We do know, and I guess I should ask a question about personnel because people are getting frustrated that we keep saying the team is not talented enough. And whenever I say it, Corey gets he gets a little offended. I mean, he agrees with me, but he doesn't like that I bring it up because he's trying to.
No, that's not. You say, well, of course they're not going to be very good because they don't have a lot of talent. And
I don't say of course. I just say they're not going to be very good because they don't have a lot of talent.
They don't have the talent of 3 teams on their schedule. The other teams, they have commensurate. No,
commensurate.
There's an N in there, right?
Yeah.
They have commensurate
talent. Is a whole different word.
Right. That's what we're doing right now. We're commiserating. Talent with everybody else on their schedule. So let's not act like they're just the dregs of the earth compared to the ACC Atlantic. They're the dregs of the earth compared to Clemson.
Yeah, and the fact that they got blown out by Louisville and Pitt and NC State and some of these schools last year doesn't mean that those teams are that much more talented.
Bailey Hockman just had a night. He had a night. Bailey Hockman was on one.
Special
night. What are you
going
to do when
Hockman's on a heater? What are you going to do?
You can do, man.
It's a common refrain around the ACC. You hear coaches say that.
You can't let them get hot.
So Daniel writes, Mike Norvell has shown the ability to sculpt an offense around his playmakers in any given season. Which player or segment do you think becomes the focus of this offense this season?
Good question.
Great question, Daniel.
Keyshawn that was a lot of stopping and starting hiccuping. Keyshawn, to me, it's just been 3 days without pads, but he might be a guy that you're like, okay, he's a 50 catch guy, 60 catch guy. Get him the ball somehow, some way, because he's going to get you some first downs. And then Pokey, I think maybe, he was hurt a little bit last year. He's the only guy returning that has done anything really at this level as a receiver. And then you hope Parchment turns into something.
Well, I think the one thing we haven't seen a whole lot of yet that I think could be a huge factor is Tofili.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been in full pads yet. So even when he does carry the ball, it's not typical, and they're not bringing anybody to the ground.
Right.
But that guy's a special guy. I think you might see to me, the running backs, if I had to pick a group, I'd go with the running backs. But I think it's going to be kind of a combination. I don't think there's going to be one standout group because I think the tight ends are decent. The receivers are decent. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to his play calling.
One thing to note, they got a huge boost when they got Jordan Wilson back. And for those of us who've been out there to see this guy, that's a big dude who can actually move a little bit.
It's like an aircraft carrier, his back and his shoulders.
He is a massive guy, and we knew that he was considered to be a very, very good blocking tight end. You can see why, given his size, but he's a little bit more fleet of foot than I thought. I'm not trying to tell you he's going to run away from anybody, but they can use him in the passing game. Point is, tight end has been a weakness around here lately.
Sure.
I think it has a chance to not be a weakness. It could be average. Cam McDonald's not special. He's a decent player. He's an okay player, but he's a receiver. He's not much of a blocker. But Wilson's a guy that's going to allow you to use a lot of 12 package where you have two tight ends out there. He's a big guy that can help you in the run game.
And the young tight ends from last year that we kind of started to feel like, man, were those just two misses? Because Carter Boatwright and Marquise Douglas never got sniffed. Like you never saw them even with the twos last season. But Boatwright and Norvell brought him up yesterday, and we saw it in practice. He had a couple nice catches. Looks a lot better. And Douglas, you pointed out the other day,
what about
Corey.
my man Jackson West?
And Jackson West.
Come
I like
on,
him too.
buddy.
Yeah, they like him.
I think he got in a little scrape the other day.
He
Maybe.
did. It was awesome.
He does.
He's got a little
He doesn't mind getting in the scrapes.
More than any of the guys you mentioned. I was like, come on, Jackson West is the guy. Plus, we can root for him because he's Jackson
I was
West.
going to say, and like I like how you break into the Alabama.
Oh, you have to, man. Old Jackson West out here making plays. I like that. Butch writes, hello, gents. Tough weekend, no doubt. Coach was one of a kind. Over the last 2 days, I've been surprised and blown away by the number of people, coaches, competitors, and other institutions throughout the country. I could continue to read, but he's basically saying what so many other people have is that our fan base and people who loved Bobby Bowden are very, very pleased to see that it's opposing coaches, opposing conferences, and opposing fans that are also coming forward to recognize the greatness of the man that was Bobby Bowden.
Does the hypocrisy bother you a little bit that some of the media that went after him in the last 8 years are now like acting like he was so beloved to them?
Are you talking about Jeff?
Mostly Jeff.
Okay.
Mostly
yeah,
me.
it's weird because he's sitting right
I'm
there.
right here.
I was looking at you.
It's okay.
No,
No.
I'm talking about the national media.
Mhm.
I
I never had a personal problem
Exactly.
with Bobby Bowden. I
after-
ripped him because the program was beginning to wane.
There were some people in the national media that called him phony. They didn't believe necessarily he was as good a guy. And there's a tainted title.
So what happens, obviously, we know when people pass away is that people, especially if the person by and large was a really good person, you're going to try to focus on the better angels of their nature. It's the right thing to do because there are no perfect people and we all have foibles and those kinds of things. But we also tend to gloss over if a person may have said a few things that they wish they could have taken back.
Sure.
So maybe that's what you're talking about because Coach Bowden did say a few things that maybe he wished he could have taken back. On the whole, though, I think people are trying to note that the man, his intentions were always good.
It is.
And the kindness was genuine.
But I do think it's kind of weird, I think, for FSU fans who have been used to A, not being treated well by ESPN, B, seeing how he was treated, and then just seeing all this adulation. It's wonderful, but I think there's a part of people who are like, yeah, man, where have you guys been for the last 40 years?
I think the biggest thing here is to separate, and I've had to do this because I was very vocal and very critical of Coach Bowden in the latter years as we entered the lost decade. That's when I was documenting what was going on. And again, I've tried to focus on the fact that it wasn't personal with Coach Bowden, and I hated having to say those things. Now, I did cross the line a few times when it came to Jeff Bowden. Anyhow, that said, and I apologize for that. But that said, there were times that the national media correctly pointed out that Florida State was nowhere close to being the Florida State of old, and they were very critical voices, whether it was Fowler or Herb Street, whomever you want to name. You can separate that. You can say, okay, well, it was fair to rip us there. Florida State was fading. But I never got a sense that those two guys or guys like them didn't appreciate who he was and what he had done or the man that he was. I think they always loved Bobby Bowden. But the football product was a problem.
If somebody said that Bowden was phony, you just take that opinion for what it's worth, right? Like they don't know the guy.
I just think the way they went after him for Let's Roll. I mean, like,
Sure.
come on. We
But
know
again,
Bobby Bowden's
who was the
heart.
main person that went after him for that?
Right.
Olbermann.
Yeah, it was Keith Olbermann.
What does Olbermann know about Bobby Bowden and college? So that's you don't even worry about that. You know what I mean? Like, so that's those people show who they are when they don't know who the person they're talking about is.
Yeah. But I do like that the vast majority of people, even if they had criticisms of the latter years of Coach Bowden, were right to point out that we're looking at the totality of a 91-year life and that the man was a really...
You make mistakes. You live that long, you're going to make some mistakes. Yeah.
Great guy. Really quick while we can, Kyle writes, glad the boys are back as we are in the thick of lying season. How do these first days of camp feel compared to the first few days of Jimbo's and Willie's first year? I say first year because I don't consider last year to count. Thanks for the great content as always.
Well, there's a noticeable difference between maybe a Norvell practice and a Willie Taggart practice.
In some ways.
Like almost in every way. And look, Norvell plays music. When they're doing 11-11, he pops it up in the IPF. It's popping off.
They never lost because of music, by the way, as an aside.
But they don't take the breaks to dance.
They don't take the breaks to dance, and they're always doing something. They don't have 40 players just standing around watching other players practice. They're all practicing. That's the one thing Jimbo always did, right? He had the two practice fields going. Norvell's more like that. It's constant. There's not a lot of breaks for any of the players, and it's that to me is there's just a pace and an urgency to the practice that maybe wasn't there in the previous regime.
And there's the corrections. There's much more correcting going on play to play than there were.
I've always been excited, and I was last year, even though that was kind of a lost year, that the messaging is consistent. What they want, what they're asking of them, coach to coach, segment to segment, is the same. You're not getting disparate messages. It shows that they are organized. And also, I think that these guys are really good teachers. You see that when you go out to practice.
100%.
They're really good teachers. Real quick, Bob writes, rest in peace, Bobby. Damn good man, and thank you. Can't say any more that hasn't already been said. Congrats to Warchant.com and the Jeff Cameron Show. The sports chemistry between Tom and Jeff, paired with the Warchant experts that are Ira and Corey, features no better team on the airwaves. By the way, will there be a register sausage discount to honor the new JCS home? Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, we're gonna have a chat with Ben and figure that out.
And he says, let's go football. Would it be better to lose to Notre Dame so the players don't become overconfident?
Yeah, that's been a problem around here. They've been too overconfident with all these wins.
Oh, my God. They got the big head, everybody. They won a game.
In fact, last year at halftime at Georgia Tech, Norvell, that's exactly what he was thinking. Was, let's just take our foot off the gas here.
Yeah.
We don't want these guys
we don't want them to get a big head. They don't need to be 1-0.
Remember, headliners, subscribe to Warchant TV today. Obviously, also subscribe to Seminole Headlines, the Jeff Cameron Show, and Wake Up Warchant there. The podcast of the Warchant.com multimedia network can be found wherever you get your favorite podcasts. More Seminole Headlines on 93.3 Real Talk Radio in a moment.
Your local news now.
Florida State University announced Monday all students, faculty, and staff are expected to wear masks when inside any FSU facility. This includes those who have been vaccinated. The university also said it expects everyone to have been vaccinated against the coronavirus by the time the fall term begins, including those who have had and recovered from the virus. Leon County School Superintendent Rocky Hanna also announced Monday masks will be required at the beginning of the school year. Masks will be required for all students in pre-K through 8th grade unless the students are given an exemption by a doctor or a psychiatrist for physical or mental health reasons. Hanna's decision conflicts with Governor Ron DeSantis' executive order issued in late July prohibiting mask requirements in schools. The order outlines possible sanctions against those schools, including withholding of state funding. The superintendent says the mask requirement is temporary and the policy will be reevaluated after Labor Day. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Mac&More Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at macandmoresystems.com.
Did you know metal roofs' survivability far exceeds that of traditional shingle roofs? It's time to consider a metal roof from Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee. We provide the best quality, least expensive material and accessories in the area, as well as material pickup and delivery. Our painted panels qualify for the City of Tallahassee's low-interest Energy Star loan program also. And don't forget about our veteran law enforcement discount. Give Metal Roofing Sales a call today at 536-9123, 536-9123.
In 1945, Jack Whitten started a glass company in Tallahassee. Now, over 70 years and 3 generations later, it's still working every day, doing just as Jack wanted, giving his customers real solutions for replacing window glass, providing custom-cut mirrors, and supplying superior bath and shower enclosures. Local building contractors know Whitten Glass takes care of Tallahassee business. They prefer Whitten because of their precision and mastery of eye-catching storefront glass and countertop glass. It's a fact. When you choose Whitten Glass, you're working with real glass people who will take care of you to your complete satisfaction. It's what Jack Whitten wanted, and it's been the Whitten way of doing business for over 70 years. Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass since 1945. Call Whitten Glass today or visit them online, 850-222-5781. or woodandglass.com.
Greg Tish, Real Talk 93.3.
Hey, everybody, this is Greg Tish. Thank you so much for listening to Real Talk 93.3. Don't forget, you can check out me and Maddie Rowe every Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on The Greg Tish Show. Wake up with a smile with The Greg Tish Show. How's that sound, Maddie Rowe? Is that a good promo for you?
That's good enough for me.
Is that good? Are we
It's
at
good for
30
everybody.
seconds yet?
Right about now.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Earlier today, we were able to introduce a new show that you guys will be able to watch on Warchant TV, and it's with a Florida State player. The dawn of a new day, guys. Trench Talk with Devontay Love Taylor. First installment of Trench Talk is scheduled for Sunday, August the 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Warchant TV. The show will be driven by you guys, the fans. You can submit questions to Devontay via YouTube, chat, Facebook, and Twitter. That is really cool. I'm happy for Warchant TV and for Devontay Love Taylor.
And he's such a cool dude. You know, I mean, just a nice,
he fits
nice
right
guy.
in.
Yeah.
He fits in with the Warchant.
He does.
Where do we go? Facebook, Twitter. Let's go back to Sean's question. He writes, if you had to put $5,000, okay, we're betting.
Okay.
Here we
All
go. It's football season, boys. If you had to put $5,000 of your own money on one of these outcomes, which do you choose? FSU goes 5-7. FSU goes 7-5. If it's 5-7, I think that shows we need to tap the brakes on all this 8-win talk. We are really in year one with our new coach. Ira, you go first.
Fair question. And for the, I'm going to assume that's elite headliner, Sean.
That is, yeah.
The original elite headliner. If I had to put $5,000 down, I'd say 7-5.
I think I would too. But the way my brain works, maybe I put it on 5-7, and then even if they win more than that, I'll be pleasantly surprised. I win both ways. Kind of hedging my bet.
Good for Warchant.
It's good for Warchant. Good for our audience if they go 7-5, and even if I lose my money,
I'm going to do the thing here, guys, that brings us back down to earth. All right, here we go, everybody. Remember, we have a brand new audience here on Real Talk Radio 93.3 FM. W's and L's Seminole Headlines version. Notre Dame.
Oh man, W.
L.
So we all have an L?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll do.
I mean, W came out of my mouth.
Yeah, but you meant L.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
yeah.
let's do this straight, okay?
Okay, WW for the next two.
Okay, well, hold on. We're all going to say yes to Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
I'm not going to assume Ira Schofel is picking Florida State to win on the road, 3:30, ABC, Winston-Salem,
Snuggy
Wake
Hill.
Forest, Snuggy Hill.
I'm going to go with a W.
Easy W.
No. But
Rodemaker will be playing the last few snaps. That's how easy a W it's going to be. No offense, Tate. I'm just saying you're not going to be the starter. They're going to get you some reps late in the game.
The entire season hinges on that game.
Agreed.
The entire season hinges on that game.
Because you could be 2-1 after that, or 3-0, I guess, or you could be 1-2 and you've lost to the only two FBS schools you played.
The game is a 3-point game. That is a somebody's going to have to make a field goal. That is a 27-24 game. That is, can we find a way to win? Because, and I know that it seems so insulting to people who have these high hopes for a great season and a turnaround and Florida State's return to greatness, to say that it's a 50-50 game and that it comes down to a kick. Can we get past Wake Forest?
Hey, man.
Hurts people's feelings, but it is where we're at. I have a hard time with this one. I'm going to side positively here for now that Florida State wins it in a squeaker, because I think it's the only way you can get to 6 wins. I mean, you really have to win that game. Now, at home, I like us to beat Louisville and Syracuse the next 2 weeks. And if that's
now you're looking 4-1.
If that's the case, you're 4-1, and there is real hope.
Yeah, you're 21st in the country, probably.
It does get weird, though, guys. It's not as if this is a great schedule for Florida State to have in the midst of a rebuild.
No, in the second half, it's brutal.
A brutal schedule. You're on the road at North Carolina, who many would argue is the second best team in the ACC this year. That will probably end up being a night game, and they're angry as angry gets because of what happened a year ago. You do get the nothing win against UMass and Walt Bell. That game, I don't know that game does anything for you, because it does come after a bye week. I will say this, the 2 weeks that you get after the UNC game should allow you to put together a plan. What I mean by 2 weeks is I don't count. You're not game planning for UMass, guys. You're game planning for the game after UMass, which is Clemson.
But at the same time, I'd rather have 2 weeks to prepare for a team I feel like I can beat.
Correct. That's why it stinks that's there. But you're not going to beat Clemson. We know that. That NC State team is going to get good quarterback play this year, and they're going to be pretty decent in the trenches. That's the game at home at Doak Campbell. If you're getting to 7 wins, you got us winning that game.
So is that after Clemson?
That's after Clemson.
So I'm thinking 3 weeks to prepare for NC State.
Yeah, Clemson,
I'm just
don't
not
even show up. Just have a plane. Well, you don't want to have a plane accident. Just a plane troubles where you can't take off. You're like, look, we'll get you next year.
Hey, Dabo, we're good, man.
Just keep pushing.
How much would he love that?
Yeah, you don't mind, do
hey,
you?
Guys, we can't play it.
We couldn't
we'll
play
see
last
next year in Tally.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, now you got to come back, right? Because it's going to be an even year in 22.
Yeah, so we lose the Clemson game. The NC State game is the one that, again, if you have an outlook for a 7-win type season, then you have to.
You got to win that. You got to win that game.
Yeah. Miami comes here. Then you're on the road against a very well-coached Boston College team in late November. Could be interesting. And then you close it out on the road in Gainesville against Florida. Florida State will be underdogs against Florida. They will be underdogs against Miami. They will be underdogs against NC State. They will be underdogs against Clemson. They will be
I don't
underdogs.
think they'll be underdogs against NC State.
You want to bet?
Right now?
Yeah.
$5,000?
Sure.
Okay. Let's do it.
It's on. Let's get it on. They'll be underdogs to North Carolina on the road. They'll be underdogs to Wake on the road. They are already underdogs to Notre Dame.
No, they won't be if they beat Notre Dame.
Well, the lines will shift. Yeah. There's no doubt, but they're currently
going
underdogs
to beat Notre Dame.
He's already nailed it.
You predict us to lose the game, so they're underdogs to Wake on the road. You're getting my point here. You're going to have to. I mean, you're underdogs in more games than you're not.
Well, that's where the 5.5 comes from. Was an over under. But
but I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question because I don't think they're going to be 5-7, but 7-5. I would not put $5,000 in 7-5 either.
You feel like 6 and 6 is the right number?
I would just take that $5,000 and say, Sean, see ya, thanks.
Yeah. No, I mean, you feel like 6 and 6 is the right number. I really do, because I think if you beat Wake, you could lose to NC State. You lose to Wake, you could beat NC State. I don't know. I mean, those are those potluck games. Those are the tough ones to figure out. But it is not ideal. This is not the year that you want to be playing Notre Dame. I get it, man. People are excited to get back to the stadium, and we can fill that sucker up.
Or next year when you play LSU.
But I mean,
Georgia, then Alabama. Like it's good times coming ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I would say that of all the years you don't want to play Notre Dame, I would have rather eased into this schedule with somebody like Southern Miss. You know, I'm not saying Jacksonville State, but like Southern Miss, something like that.
Troy.
Maybe a Troy.
Maybe a Texas State.
Maybe a Georgia Tech or a Boise State.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, kind of a lesser program.
Those work
Actually,
out.
I would love to play Georgia Tech first game this year.
But that's
I
what
would
we said last year.
love to play.
I'm just saying that's what we said last year.
I know, but this would be very different than that. And you know what? I think we'd hammer Georgia Tech this year. I really believe that. But I just, that's a toughie.
Yeah, well,
it's frustrating. Now, the coaches can't look at it that way, and the players ought not look at it that way. But we're realists. We're pragmatic here at Seminole Headlines. That's not ideal to start with Notre Dame.
I will say this, though. I don't think because of Notre Dame with a new quarterback, so many guys are replacing on the offensive line.
Offensive linement.
And they lost Gibbons.
They lost some studs on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, that one dude, 6, that guy was ridiculous.
Oh, he was incredible.
Yeah.
So
especially against us.
So everywhere.
I know he was a great player, but he really looked good.
He feasted.
He looked like Norvell stole money from him or something.
He was an angry man. Yeah.
But but I think it's a game that's going to be manageable. I don't think Notre Dame's not going to come in and throw for 500 yards, and you can't stay on the field with them. So I think it's going to be a manageable game, which is important because when you go, we talked to Devontay Love-Taylor last hour about the togetherness of this team. Well, if you go out there and get blown out in the first game, that stuff becomes rocky. It becomes dicey. But I think if it's a good game, if it's a close game, which I think it'll be, no matter who wins, I think that's positive. They can still build on that as opposed to a game where, like last year against Georgia Tech, you lost at home to Georgia Tech. There's nothing to build on there.
Yeah. By the way, Jack Cohn is the kid that came in from Wisconsin. He's the quarterback that is.
You were super impressed by.
Well, they're slated to win. He's slated to win that job. They're looking at guys like they're going through their depth chart. If you go read the Notre Dame sites, and I have because I'm trying to get a feel for who they are, they kind of think that kid's going to win the job. That gives you an opportunity as a fan to go watch his highlights at Wisconsin. Not impressive. Not a guy that you're going to be like, well, this is the problem. No, he's pretty much an averaged arm to, nothing really impressive about him. To your point, if you're replacing 4 offensive linemen and you bring in a decent to average quarterback who's not dynamic, you'd like to believe you're going to be in the game. course, that's all predicated on whether or not you can have a chance to win anything in the one-on-one matchups in the trenches. Last year when we played Notre Dame, they could have had me, you, Corey, didn't matter at quarterback, and it would have been a long afternoon or a long night because Florida State's defensive line allowed for chasms.
And linebackers.
I mean,
And I would have
embarrassing.
I would have pulled it on one of the reads.
Yeah.
That quarterback, who was a Book, he just kept giving it to the running back to run 80 yards.
They were gashing.
But I'm going to pull one just to get around in, get about 11 yards, get pushed out of bounds, just to get that in their mind that, okay, the quarterback will keep it.
Just to get a feel.
Well, you want to see an athlete. You got an athlete back there.
And you want to give the people what you want. Thanks, Travis. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the great content he writes, gents. I predict a 12-0 season. All right, Travis.
Good job, Trav.
What a day. Travis, we appreciate you. We'll come back, get to more headliner questions here in a moment, and wrap up the program.
You got to one that segment.
You better. Well, I got to. The show is the three of us.
Right. Sure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Are you want me to get another one here?
No. You're running the show. You're running the show.
With camp getting out of the way, the people want to know the hard-hitting question. What happened to Coach Dillingham's leg? Are you glad I got to that one?
Why did you read one you've already asked?
No, this is a different one.
But why did you read it?
Because it was next in line, buddy. You're so desperate to get to the questions. I wanted to make sure you see what it's like when
I figured you'd pick one that hadn't been asked. Sorry. Hey, I'll get out of.
Hey, the good thing is we're gonna have a meeting after the show. We're gonna break it all down.
Yeah.
And we'll sort through this.
What an abomination! I apologize to all of you watching and all of you listening.
And for Jeff,
Mark writes, the Notre Dame game will be closer than the experts think.
Boom.
Is that better? I got to that one.
Mark,
good job,
said.
Mark. I got the two in a row right there.
And I agree with him.
All right. Seminole Headlines returns in a moment.
Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
If 2020 has taught us anything, having a safe and secure home is more important than ever before. It's time to take your future into your own hands and invest. A new roof on your home improves the value of your property long term. At Parker Brothers Roofing, we make it easy with free estimates, affordable financing, and professional installation every time since 1995. Give us a call today at 656-8112 or visit us at parkerbrothersroofing.net.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
CGC 042221. CCC 049350.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Your home has been a place of great comfort. We can help you keep it that way. Barno Heating and Air is helping you get ready for summer with $1,500 off select new units, 0% financing for qualified buyers, plus worry-free maintenance plans. Learn more or schedule online at BarnoAC.com. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barno Heating and Air today. For license CAC 1816186.
I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Swain Pools and Spas is your pool and spa everything store. Swain sells them, Swain repairs them, Swain renovates them, Swain services them. Swain even has pool and spa supplies. And they'll test your water too. Look for the big Swain sign on Tharp Street. Call them at 386-7113 or online at SwainPools.com.
Swain Pools and Spas.
When you're looking to get anything done, chances are you've got a guy for that. And when it comes to your car or truck repairs, the team at Tallahassee Car Care are your guys. The kind of guys that have motor oil running through their veins. The kind of guys that prefer grease remover over frou-frou flowery scented soaps. And these guys will tell you the truth with no fluff. When your car or truck needs any kind of repairs, look for Tallahassee Car Care on West Tharp Street, right behind Swain Pools and Spas. Tallahassee Car Care.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. Get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. WARCHANT.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Squirrel attacks and FSU talk. That's what Seminole Headlines does. More now.
And we're back. Just as I get, well, that's a quick liner, guys. That is
in the industry.
You got to get running. That they're not ready. I wasn't ready for that. It's like it's go time. R Gilmore. I think we're going to be better than most people think. Then again, I just want something to cheer about after the last few years. I'm drinking the preseason Kool-Aid True, and it tastes great.
It was actually Flavor Aid that they used in Jonestown. I'm not comparing the Florida State football season to Jonestown. Just saying.
But I like that you did. I like that it's just kind of in there. Yeah, that's fair. All right, we got to get to more questions.
It's just weird that Kool-Aid never came out. It was like, guys, that was not us.
Yeah,
don't blame us. Yeah. Do you think we can sit here right now and talk about 6-6 being success or a step in the right direction? But to his point about like wanting to enjoy Florida State football games again, is that possible during the process? As that plays out, is that
very
possible?
much possible? It happened under Bowden. I mean, excuse me. It definitely happened under Bowden, but it definitely happened under Jimbo. I enjoyed a couple of those. Was it a 9-3 year? There are moments where you began to see real leaps forward, and you knew that you were on the precipice of something really good. Now, you knew also in that ACC championship game they couldn't block. They were on roller skates on the defensive side of the ball against Virginia Tech. But you knew, like, hey, we're here. We arrived. Okay, we've got to take another step forward, but it's happening. It's all happening. And that is anticipatory. You sit around the entire offseason thinking, okay, well, they made strides last year. What if they do it again this year? What if they do it again the year after that? And you know when a program has, I mean, we all do it as football fans. You sit around early in a season, you flip around from game to game, you're trying to get a feel for who's great, who's not, what's what in each conference. And invariably, you come across a team's game that you hadn't really thought much about, and maybe you run into them once or twice, and the next thing you know, you're sitting there talking football with your buddies, you're like, you know who's playing well? Everybody picks up on it. They'll notice, like, oh, that Utah team's a little bit better than people realized, or whatever it be, right? That's got to be us this year. Sure. It's got to be like, I want other football fans to be going, you know, they were horrible last year, but this isn't awful.
You can see it coming a little bit.
But what helped in that Jimbo's first year, and you think back to it, man, I mean, you got to give them a lot of credit, man. They really turned it around pretty quickly. Because you lose it. I mean, Oklahoma blows you out in week 2. That was
there.
Tough.
You were there. We were all there.
And that was one where you're like, okay.
And he was confident going into that game.
He thought they were going to win that game.
And they got blown out.
But the only other 2 losses during the regular season, until that Virginia Tech game, were NC State 28-24. Isn't that when
Ponder got hit by Ty Jones and fumbled?
So that's a game you're going in to win.
Yes, right.
You're going either he gives it to him or throws to the flat.
It's a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. And then the North Carolina game where Hopkins doesn't make the field goal, right?
Yeah.
Those are your only other 2 losses.
Corey, you forgot this was the grand opportunity for you to point to the fact that I never forgave Hopkins.
You called him an average kicker as he's in the league for his 10th year or whatever.
Yeah, average. Onions way better.
Well, hey, he had a better college. Well, I wouldn't even say that, but yeah, Onions
had a better career.
Onions made bigger kicks in college.
But those are 2 of the 3 losses during the regular season were not blowouts. That's the other thing you can't have.
No, that's true. Tony writes, hey, fellas, glad to finally see those mugs on YouTube. Jeff, congrats on the transition. It really fits because you are with all of your friends, and all of you have great chemistry. My thoughts and prayers are with the Bowden family and FSU's family. I'm in Birmingham, so he was one of the reasons that I became an FSU fan, and I met him once at a book signing here in Birmingham. He was very kind to me during our brief conversation, and I've always appreciated it. My question is, even though we aren't as talented as some teams in the conference, do you think that Bowden's passing could give the team another piece of motivation? It could give them 1 or 2 maybe extra wins this season. Thanks. I don't think it works that way. I don't believe it works that way.
I mean, I think they might. It would be cool if they hit a trick play in a big game, and
the excitement in that opener. This adds to that.
Sure.
One of the things that could give them a chance.
But as soon as you get hit in the mouth, right? It's the Tyson.
But one of the things that's going to give them a chance in that game is it's not only going to be the first home game of the season, but it's the first game after COVID. So it's going to be the first time with a full capacity stadium.
The atmosphere is going to be awesome.
That's what I'm saying. And then you add his passing into that atmosphere. It is going to be an electric. Now, whether or not they can play with him, we don't know. But
they got to get off to a good start. Yeah. I do think if there's any chance that upset, with all the emotion you're talking about, for the variety of reasons you just laid bare, it would be if you got up 14-7. You're in the game late in the second quarter with the lead or something. People begin to believe, including those kids who have not had a lot to believe in, including themselves over the last several years. So that would have to be the reason.
And then they've got a new quarterback, a young offensive line.
And that atmosphere starts to get to him.
You can.
He's a slappy from Wisconsin. He's,
I was thinking that.
We've seen slappies from Wisconsin here, haven't we?
Seen slappies from Wisconsin.
Quarterback. Oh boy. By the way, we're changing the setup next week. I feel like anytime I talk to you, what are people seeing right now on the screen? My hot dog neck?
No,
you know what I mean?
You're really self-conscious.
Well, I'm just,
this need for affirmation has really been exposed on
today's show. It's easy for you to say that I'm self-conscious.
You're chasing compliments,
my
baby.
My side is to the camera half the time.
We love you. The people love you.
And I'm spinning around a lot. You can tell I'm a little fidgety.
How is it that you've lived this long and had this much success, both on the field and off?
Yes, right. Yes, correct. So much success on the field
that you can't, just have faith that we're all looking and listening to you. We're not.
I just
we're not checking out the wrinkles on the neck. We're not.
Okay, good.
We're not doing that.
Great.
No,
and also,
man.
when I hit the cough button, did it work?
No, it didn't work.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
right. Well,
so you're off to a flying
too.
start. We'll probably move some things around, guys. It'll be really, really good. We'll have the opportunity to do that. I do know this. We don't have time for more questions. We have about a minute left. Really quick, short answer. Will the NCAA ever do the right thing and give Bowden his wins back? Because that does matter to me, and it matters to Florida State fans, and I think people who are right-minded and fair care about that.
I don't think the NCAA as an entity will do it. I think Florida State can just go ahead and claim it.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I would absolutely claim it.
Especially
the NCAA won't exist in about an hour.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. When the NCAA gets disbanded or whatever ends up happening, then Florida State can flip their finger.
All-time wins leader Bobby Bowden. That's what you put on the statue. That's what you put in the banner.
It's absolutely what you should do, because the takeaway from those the wins taken away were absurd given the circumstances. Yes. Complete nonsense. And then you saw what happened in North Carolina and everything else. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Here comes the music.
Good job to Matthew. Good job, Tom. And thanks to all of you. And thanks to Devontay Love Taylor. For Corey Clark and Ira Chaffel, I'm Jeff Cameron. Thanks, guys. If you're new to the show on 93.3 Real Talk FM, we'll be back again with you next week, and I'll be on tomorrow. Take care, everybody.